What's definitely getting out of hand? Story 1. Grocery prices. Right? Is anyone else finding it harder and harder to just afford to live month on month? Definitely. The prices got high, but packets were smaller. The former normal size of everything are now family size in my country. I only recently noticed packs getting smaller. I didn't realize it was so widespread. Shrinkflation is the term. In the UK, this is known as the Freddo Index or Fredonomics. It's a crime that the Freddo used to be a 10p treat, 1999, shaped like a fat frog. Now even the frog has lost weight and looks like a malnourished poverty child. Yet they're asking for over 30p. Madness. Edit. Changed 5p to 10p due to error. They aren't even normal size. They're smaller than normal size and calling them family size. It sucks. Yes, but also Aldi and Trader Joe's are my happy places. Yes, all this for the win, but still they've even had to creep some prices up. Nowhere near as bad as the usual grocery stores, but still not like it used to be. I shop pretty much only at Aldi since I've still seen a 50 to 75% increase in what I spend there buying similar things. My family loves this heat and eats carnitas tacos filling from Kroger. When I started buying it 3 years ago, it was $5.99. It's now $9.99. I'm just floored by this smeg. A decade ago, McDonald's still had a value menu. Now they have a special deal where if you buy two, you can get a McDouble for only $2. Literally twice the price it used to be. It's getting extremely hard to justify getting fast food anywhere now. For me, the most noticeable was Little Caesars raising their $5 hot and ready. They covered it up by having all these different options now, but I think the standard hot and ready with reduced toppings, as you now have to pay extra to get the amount of toppings you used to, is like $7.50 plus. Crazy bread is way too expensive to justify getting ever now. McDonald's draw was cheap food, not good food, and pretty much the same for all fast food. At some point, they'll be forced to realize people did it out of convenience, and even with shrinkflation, people will start to find packing their own lunch for road trips and such is now the better option. There are going to be generations of children growing up where their parents will adamantly refuse to let them try fast food when you add on the unhealthy aspect of it to the rising cost. And their initial reaction is going to be to make meals cost $20 plus first. It used to be, not too long ago, that fast food places were going two different routes. They were trying to go for a gourmet kind of feel, and that could justify the bigger prices, or they were going heavy into value menus. McDonald's did that for quite a while, and I think they still do that, but it does seem like all the restaurants now are just upping their prices, and value menus are starting to get smaller and smaller. Story 2. Farmers need to subscribe to their tractor these days. It's sad how sarcastic this sounds, and then you find out it's true. The worst part is farmers live in rural areas. Like, that's just how it is. Guess where John Deere's certified technicians live? Nowhere fracking close. So if your tractor breaks down, it might be a week before you get it fixed. And even if it's a simple, easy fix, the tractor knows when a tech didn't fix it and will lock down the tractor. This thread is fascinating. And you're right, it's totally linked to right to repair. Farmers won a case against John Deere earlier this year. I believe John Deere settled. They made some key concessions. It was to head off legislation that would prevent pipelining, disallowing farmers to repair their own machines and voiding warranties at harvest time when a working tractor or harvester is essential. The settlement was meant to head off the rising support for farmers. But it did not really help the plight of small farmers, who as a group have a higher self-unaliving rate than veterans. There's still are held hostage by several large corporations. These greedy good old boys are in cahoots. What sucks is that they have to buy it first, too. It's not like it's just a monthly fee or a lease. They're dropping north of $1 million, then paying a monthly fee for the privilege of using the expensive thing. Even worse than that, they subscribe to their seeds, too, and are barred from collecting and using any seeds from the plants. This sounds so dystopian. Why is this allowed? Because those seeds are patented by the company that designed them. Look up Monsanto seed litigation. They sue a ton of people for using their patented seeds. What Nightfox said. So you might ask, why don't they just get non-patented seeds from somewhere else? Because those non-engineered plants aren't resistant to the most commonly sprayed pesticides, herbicides. So you might decide, frack Monsanto and plant some heirloom varieties, but your neighbors spray down their fields and unalive all your smeg in the process. These companies are constantly creating new chemicals that kill regular plants and then selling the seeds for new varieties that can survive being sprayed with those chemicals. It's a huge racket. I didn't know about the seeds, but I did know about the whole thing with the machines and really the kind of the right to repair thing. That has gone over and spilled over into the things like Apple being this sort of walled garden when you have to get your battery replaced. And there's a lot of people that want you to just rent all your appliances now. I'm sure that's creeped in for a long time now. Story 3. They're trying to turn pen and paper role-playing games into fracking monthly subscriptions. I know it's slightly niche, but Hasbro Co. has every intention of destroying D&D as we know it, and it's very much in this trend. I work in the selling part of the industry, and it's completely out of hand. Everyone wants a cut, and another cut, and then some more. They want their cake and eat it too, and to have their neighbor's cake and eat that too. I've watched several people outright quit Magic and D&D in the last 5 months because of these absurd policies. And it's affecting other things, too. Magic the Gathering is up to 8 releases a year. That's more than one every 2 months. There's zero pragmatic reason for that. The meta development and the design teams won't be able to keep up, and it's all because they want more money now. The pursuit of eternal growth is quite literally destroying the ingenuity and beauty of the industry in real time. It's fracking depressing that they're taking these beloved IPs that have endured for decades and could easily endure decades more if treated with consideration and respect, and stripping every dollar from them that they can before they leave their desiccated husks to rot because they drove the entire community away. Well said. Some things just aren't meant to have unlimited growth, and it drives me nuts. At the end of the day, these cards are cardboard. Not diamond encrusted, not gold, cardboard. There's a limit to that, and it drives me wild that private citizens are expected to adhere to a budget, but companies are not. Not making enough money on your cardboard? Time to make cuts and live within your means. At some point, the profit margin is the profit margin, and there's no more copper to be wrung from the penny. Supply and demand, valuable materials, etc. used to mean something, and I think we can all agree if there's less of something, it should be worth more. Not the case today. We're already seeing that. Disney just released that new collectible card game, Locarna, something like that, and there's already scalpers that are selling all those that first run of cards. So much so that they're producing new cards. But yeah, we're seeing that. I was there when Magic the Gathering first came out, and there was just a frenzy just to collect on that too. But D&D, there are countless other role-playing game systems over D&D, and some of them have come together to form an alliance where their stuff will still remain open source. So thankfully, there's still that option. Story 4. Already out of hand and has been for a while but keeps getting worse. Advertisements everywhere. I find the worst part is the repetition. In one evening of TV watching, I might see the same commercial 20 or 30 times. Sometimes the same commercial plays back to back or twice within one break. There should be laws against this kind of spam. It's brainwashing. I grow to despise certain commercials. I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Why do we put up with it? And worse is that we pay for this smeg. I can't stand the earworm jingles. There should definitely be a law restricting the number of times the same commercial can be used within a time frame. What kind of damage is this doing to kids and developing brains? If I see or hear an obnoxious, intrusive ad that annoys me, I'll note the product and avoid ever buying it. Frack billboards. Comparing a state that allows them and a state that doesn't, I'd much rather live in a state that doesn't. There are states that don't. Hawaii, Alaska, Vermont, and Maine have laws prohibiting all outdoor billboards. These laws were passed in 1927, 59, 68, and 77, respectively. In 2011, the Portland Press-Herald polled Mainers and found that 94% opposed legislation that would allow billboards. Washington state banned billboards on motorways in 1961. Oregon has had a cap on outdoor billboards since 71, meaning no new billboards can be constructed unless an existing one is taken down. Washington State, Oregon banned them. Story 5. The level of brightness on new car lights. Thanks, Mr. New Car Driver. I didn't need my retinas anyway. I hate when I flash my brights because I think theirs are on, but then they flash their actual brights and I can't see colors for 3 days. Right? I've had a hard enough time driving in the dark to begin with. Now it takes my eyes a couple minutes to adjust to darkness after every passing new car. This is a serious issue. They should be banned, but nobody's doing anything about it. The Soft Lights Foundation is trying, but automakers and lawmakers aren't listening. I work in transportation research. There are several studies being conducted by third parties who have had success in DOT and automotive manufacturer regulations. Unfortunately, research takes time, legislation takes time, and implementation takes time. I work in transportation research, and I can assure you that multiple studies are being conducted which are aimed to fix the issue. I'm active in one of those studies, actually. Unfortunately, research takes time, legislation takes time, and implementation takes time. Additionally, at least in America, the sheer size cars are getting now. The newer popularity in crossovers and things is awesome, but they're still making trucks and SUVs bigger and bigger and bigger. You can blame cafe rules for that. They were supposed to be helping push fuel economy up, but they had some carve-outs that were supposed to be for work vehicles. However, car companies exploited this loophole and some tax loopholes to make more profitable cars and at the same time not have to meet new fuel efficiency regulations. That's why they push crossovers now so hard. It's a lot easier to make a bigger crossover that gets 30-ish miles per gallon versus a small car that might have to get 45 miles per gallon under the same rules. Story 6. My wife and I train service dogs, and this smeg ticks me off so much. I was at a small dollar store last week doing some training with one of the dogs when this woman's smeggy little service dog started going off at my dog. My dog is one of the program's big breeding males, and while he's an absolutely top-notch service dog who won't engage with this other dog, he won't stand down if attacked. So I redirect him back down the aisle to give distance and to try to leave the store from one of the other aisles. Jerkwad had her dog on a retractable leash and made no effort to stop it when she chased us down the aisle. When we tried to leave through the other aisles, the dog would run over to the next aisle and chase us back down. Again, no effort to stop the 30-foot retractable leash. This 10-pound nightmare had me, a 200-pound guy, and an 80-pound lab trapped in this back corner of the store. Since I was teaching my big guy to stay chill in this situation, this is the kind of hogwash we train for in public access sessions, after all. We rolled with it for a while, but both he and I were starting to get stressed out at this point. After being trapped for 15 minutes, I started to lose my cool at this woman and had to make it an issue. We train dogs for physical assistance, auditory assistance, and PTSD. Had I been a handler in any of those groups, this stupid little dog could have caused severe consequences. I personally believe that unregistered service animal capes should be made illegal, and that anyone with a service animal should be able to produce public access/handler accreditation immediately. People, leave your untrained animals at home. Not to mention that service dogs are medical devices, no different than a wheelchair. They cost a tremendous amount of money, are hard to get, and if your real service dog, who is a medical device, gets in a fight, they usually have to be retired. So jerkwads who bring their fake service dogs into places they shouldn't be run the risk of decommissioning someone's necessary medical device. Taking a service dog from someone who's blind is right up there with taking a wheelchair from someone who can't walk. And that's exactly the risk they're running. I used to work in a place where the building only allowed service animals, and on our floor, everybody got the information spread around about how to order those fake service capes and got them for all their dogs, and they were just all over the place. They didn't cause any problems as far as I knew, but I saw more than one pee pad around the place, and there was a smell. I don't need to go to work for that. I don't. Story 7. Everywhere asking for a tip. Use the self-checkout kiosk. Would you like to leave a tip? Oh, this one got me. I get a drink out of the cooler at a hockey game myself, bring it to the checkout myself, I then scan it myself, and am asked how much of a tip I want to leave. Who the frack am I tipping? For what? It was entirely self-service. I found the tiny no-tip button on the machine. Then I tipped myself cash. Tipping culture is way out of hand. A similar experience I had recently at the beer store. I walked in, grabbed my stuff, not greeted or asked if I needed help. At the till, I was asked for a tip. I selected no tip and the entire demeanor of the cashier changed. For a moment, I felt bad until I remembered that he did what he was paid to do. Robots need to feed their families too. Story 8. The most annoying thing is that the set price is now accepted because there's almost nothing we can do. I'm not even sure that when all this inflation gets finally tampered down, the prices will decrease a bit, or things will just stay expensive forever. And the only thing that can balance it out is an increase in wages. I'm convinced prices will not decrease much, if at all. It's such total BS that we're in a terrible economy, but basically all companies are making record profits. Bloodsuckers. 99% chance that prices will not decrease overall. There have been a few periods where that has happened in the US, Great Depression, 2007 and 8, but it takes a really bad recession to get that to occur. We're stuck relying on increases in our wages over time to get back to where we were. Inflation is fatal for our standard of living. They will never go back down after finding out they can blame the economy for increasing prices instead. Supply issues and all that jazz.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 9. The ones that tick me off the most in America are prescription medicine ads. The prescription medicine I do or don't get shouldn't be my decision as a patient. Those ads are all so weird, too. And all the medicine is for oddly specific diseases. They actually do research on the viewing audience and what common health problems they might have, and put the right ads on the right air times. For example, if you're watching the bacon-wrapped Butterfoods cooking show, you're probably going to get more cholesterol and type 2 diabetes meds than anxiety meds, compared to watching a lifestyle and meditation channel. They probably mean the ones that are like, if you have a type 1A hypercholestomia, type 3B.4 lymph node myopathy, and have type 1.111.A subvariant 54AC melanoma, then this anti-cancer medicine might help you survive 2 more months. Like, there is no way they can research that for demographics. And the profit margins on finding 1 more patient is high enough to pay for a national advertising budget. I also think those ads are almost really geared at getting people to buy the company's stock. Story 10. Rent increases and mortgage rates. Housing in general is just too much. Too many rich people hopping on the landlord train. My previous place raised the rent 15% every year for 3 years to match market rates. We did not get 15% more amenity or service. It's sheer greed and lethargy. I can barely afford my $1,200 rent, and they won't even come fix the broken front door lock. I did it myself because, doors need a frackin' lock. They've literally left a pool vacuum in the exact same position next to the pool all summer, as if anyone will see it and think any maintenance actually gets done. The maintenance guy is mean and very obese and just glares at everyone from his golf cart. He uses grabbers to pick things up so he doesn't have to leave the cart. It'd be funny if it wasn't my frackin' life. Story 11. Jobs asking for 5+ years of experience being listed as entry level. My favorite one that I saw somewhere online was a programmer job asking for 10 years of experience in a programming language that wasn't even around 10 years ago. There was one that was something like an applicant being told they didn't have the necessary experience in a specific language, with the applicant pointing out that the language wasn't created that long ago and that they were the one who created it to begin with. It was an iOS library, I think. He was rejected from the interview for not speaking exact pre-decided answers, I think. No, it was Sebastian Ramirez, author of Fast API, a Python web framework. Story 12. Disney remakes. These are ridiculous. They're remaking Moana, and the damn movie isn't even 10 years old yet. Excuse me? I still think of that movie as new, and it was so good. Why would they do this? I remember reading a theory that it was The Rock's idea to have a comeback after Black Adam not doing too well. Everything these days is either a remake or part of a cinematic universe. I love good standalone movies. Not everything needs a whole universe of sequels and spin-offs. I always found it weird how the idea of a modern version of a classic equals live action. The irony is that it's all still largely CGI animations anyway. It probably would have been better if, say, the Lion King remake was animated in the same style as Zootopia. Whoever thought everything needed live-action remakes deserves to face the wall. Story 13. Ads on YouTube. I remember the good old days when ads would never exceed 15 seconds. Now it's normal for a video to start with a 15-second ad, followed by a 5 to 6 second one. Sometimes I even get 2 15-second ads back to back. Not to mention the creators that are getting botched over for randomly having their content labeled as kids content and getting comments turned off automatically. And the actual kids content is super messed up and unmoderated. Full, entire 3-minute music video as an ad on a 2 minutes long comedy sketch video. That smegs unholy. And it's always music I wouldn't even listen to with somebody else's ears. Story 14. Comment sections on social media. They used to be pretty fun to scroll through and engage with. Now it's mostly full of insufferable people who get off on arguing with strangers online, picking fights over literally anything. You've been on the internet a long time, fellow human, if you remember when the comment section wasn't a toxic cesspool. In fairness, so have I. I've been on the internet for far too long, and I remember guest books on personal websites would always attract trolls. And those would actually be people you personally know hiding behind an alias trolling you for gits and shiggles. Story 15. The political divide in the U.S. is the worst I've seen in my 43 years on this planet. This and COVID made me realize how stupid and easily manipulated people truly are. Humans are not inherently truth-seeking animals. You would think that with the internet and the mountains of information available, people would be more informed. But instead, people tend to seek bubbles to affirm their own beliefs. Thus, people live in entirely different worlds that they built for themselves. Many people and communities, this site included, are frequently victims to this, although they tell themselves that they're not. Story 16. Real estate prices. I'm finally earning a decent enough living to be able to own and will be moving in next summer, but still can only afford condos or townhouses. And not even in my county. Have to go about 30 miles south where it's a bit more affordable. Single-family homes are all out. And for context, I net about $60K a year and live in New Jersey. Also, property taxes are insane here. Interest rates aren't looking good either. My wife and I got lucky and bought a home before the prices were stupid. But we can't sell our home because the next mortgage will be plus 7%. I'm paying 2.95% now. Why on earth would I sell my home just to double what I give away to the banks? Story 17. Monthly subscriptions. Not just streaming services, software, games, and even vehicle features. It's like the MBAs from MBB have their hands in everything now. This is a huge contributing factor to how expensive living is today. You can never pay off a subscription. It's forever until canceled. Not to mention, it's much more difficult to own physical media these days, too. You're only licensing access, not taking ownership.
Ahoy, matey! I'm the only solution to this corporate hogwash. Arr! Yo ho, we row beneath the black flag. A rollicking we will go. We own the sea and sky.
Story 18. Apps. Every business, website, service, you name it, has its own damn app now. 3-factor authorization also means that I have to download several apps on my personal phone just to be able to access sites required by my employer to do my job. My work used to do that, until a bunch of employees started insisting that if they're making us use our personal phones for work-related reasons, i.e. authenticators, then they legally have to pay us a subsidy because they're forcing us to use equipment we paid for work. It apparently worked because a few months ago, they all gave us a YubiKey and told us to delete the authenticators off our phone. Story 19. Ignorance. So many poorly educated people with no desire to learn. Self-education is now seen as a chore instead of a great skill or power. Knowledge is power. My brother's high school freshman schedule was just sent to us. Not one history class in the whole year. No wonder history is cyclical, because we're failing to teach the past. Meanwhile, in the other side of the spectrum, my county school system does the same history like 5 times. Story 20. Literally everything and everyone is raising their prices for everything. I've gotten so many, "We're raising our prices this year to growing inflation." And yes, the items are smaller, you don't get the same as you did before, or the product is worse. They all say we need to raise the rates for something because they can't afford to keep running their business on the prices now, but yet they show record profits. I'm looking at you, Excel, among others and others and others just like this. It's insane. I just got charged $49 for internet hosting that was $22 3 years ago. It's maddening. Story 21. The cost to simply be alive and take care of yourself. Edit. Thank you, anonymous person who gave me an award. It's good to remember we're not alone with this feeling. Right. And the push for needing side hustles on top of a full-time job to simply survive. And nobody wants to work at jobs where you'd have to work 87 hours a week to make rent and groceries. I mean, no smeg. Story 22. Phone music and TikTok out loud in public. When did people stop using headphones and why? I use headphones at home by myself. Why anyone would want to use a speaker in public is beyond me. Story 23. Especially Adobe Photoshop. You could own that back in the day. Also easier to pirate back then, or so a friend told me. Story 24. People not knowing how to interact politely with their fellow humans. It's wild. I keep talking about this. No one is nice anymore.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.